You slept 8 hours last night. You know you did. You remember going to bed. You remember setting the alarm. And yet here you are, eyes heavy, mind slow, reaching for your third coffee before noon, wondering why rest never seems to actually work. Here's what nobody tells you. Sleep is not the only thing that makes you tired. And in millions of people, it is not even the main thing. The exhaustion you carry, the kind that doesn't lift after a full night, the kind that has become your default, is coming from somewhere else entirely. Let's go find it. Your energy doesn't come from food. Not directly. When you eat, your body breaks food down into glucose, a simple sugar that travels through the bloodstream. But glucose is not energy. It is raw material. Before your cells can use it, it has to be converted. That conversion happens inside a structure so small it is invisible to the naked eye, but so critical that without it, you would be dead within seconds. The mitochondria. Every cell in your body contains hundreds, sometimes thousands of mitochondria. They are your cell's power plants, taking glucose and oxygen and running them through a precise chemical process called the electron transport chain, producing a molecule called ATP. ATP is energy, actual, usable, cellular energy. Every muscle contraction, every nerve signal, every thought you have right now, all of it runs on ATP. When your mitochondria are healthy and abundant and working efficiently, you feel it. You feel alive, sustained, capable. When they are not, when they are damaged, depleted, or running at reduced capacity, you feel that too. You feel it as tiredness. Here is the problem most people never hear about. Mitochondria can be damaged, and modern life is extraordinarily good at damaging them. Chronic stress floods the body with cortisol, a hormone that in short bursts is genuinely useful. It sharpens your focus. It mobilizes energy. It is the biological equivalent of an emergency alarm. But cortisol was designed for acute threats, a predator, a physical danger, a short burst of urgency. It was not designed to run continuously for months or years. When cortisol stays elevated, when the alarm never switches off, it begins to interfere with mitochondrial function. Chronically elevated cortisol suppresses the very enzymes that mitochondria need to produce ATP efficiently. The power plants slow down, output drops. Your body is under constant alarm, and the alarm itself is draining the battery. This is the cortisol trap, and it is far more common than most people realize. Your body's cortisol system runs on a cycle. It should peak in the morning, a sharp spike that wakes you up, sharpens your mind, and gets you moving. It should fall through the day, reaching its lowest point at night, allowing melatonin to rise and sleep to begin. In a healthy person, this is a clean, rhythmic wave. But in someone under chronic stress, emotional, physical, or inflammatory, the wave breaks down. Cortisol stays elevated through the day, suppressing afternoon focus and productive energy. And then, paradoxically, instead of dropping at night, it spikes again. Just enough to interfere with deep sleep, just enough to keep the brain from fully switching off. So you sleep, but you don't restore. You wake up tired because the restoration never happened, and you face a new day with the same cortisol system, still dysregulated, still elevated, still draining the batteries that were never recharged. But cortisol is only one piece of the puzzle, because there is another silent drain, one that sits even deeper in the mitochondria themselves. It is called oxidative stress. When mitochondria produce ATP, the process is not perfectly clean. As a byproduct, they generate unstable molecules called free radicals, reactive oxygen species, that bounce through the cell like sparks off a grinding wheel. Under normal conditions, your body manages these sparks with antioxidant systems, enzymes and compounds that neutralize free radicals before they can cause damage. The system is elegant and self-regulating. But under chronic stress, poor sleep, processed food diets, and low physical activity, the spark production outpaces the fire suppression. Free radicals accumulate. They damage the mitochondrial membrane. They damage the proteins the mitochondria need to function. They damage the mitochondria's own DNA. A damaged mitochondrion produces less ATP. It runs hotter and less efficiently, like an old battery that drains faster and charges slower. Over time, cells replace their damaged mitochondria with new ones, but that process, called mitophagy, requires rest and resources that a constantly stressed system doesn't have. The batteries degrade, and they are never replaced. Now add inflammation to the picture. Chronic low-grade inflammation, the same slow fire we discussed in other contexts, is one of the most powerful suppressors of mitochondrial function known to science. When your immune system's in a state of persistent low-level activation, it redirects cellular resources. Energy that would normally go to your muscles, your brain, your cognitive function, gets pulled toward the inflammatory response. The immune system is a massive consumer of ATP. When it is running on high, everything else runs low. This is called sickness behavior. When you have the flu, your immune system deliberately makes you tired, achy, foggy, and unmotivated. It does this on purpose, to force you to rest, to redirect energy to fighting the infection. But in chronic low-grade inflammation, you get the sickness behavior without the acute illness. Tired, foggy, flat, unmotivated, not sick enough to stop, not well enough to feel alive. This is where many people live. And then there is the thyroid. Small, butterfly-shaped, sitting quietly at the base of your throat. The thyroid gland is the master regulator of your metabolic rate. It sets the speed at which every cell in your body operates. When thyroid function is low, a condition called hypothyroidism, or its more subtle cousin, subclinical hypothyroidism, the entire system slows. Mitochondria produce less ATP. Cells run at reduced capacity. The body goes into a kind of low-power mode. The hallmark symptom is not pain. It is not fever. It is not inflammation. It is fatigue. Persistent, unrelenting, sleep-resistant fatigue. And because the thyroid is so rarely checked in routine testing, and because the symptoms are so non-specific, hypothyroidism is one of the most commonly missed causes of chronic tiredness, particularly in women, in whom it is significantly more prevalent. There is one more factor, one that is almost never discussed: nutrients. Mitochondria do not just need glucose and oxygen to produce ATP. They need cofactors, specific vitamins and minerals that act as essential components of the ATP production process. Magnesium, coenzyme Q10, K9, B vitamins, particularly B12 and B6, iron, vitamin D. Without adequate levels of these cofactors, the electron transport chain stutters, the chemical reactions slow, ATP production falls, not because the mitochondria are damaged, but because they are running without the materials they need to operate. Modern diets, high in processed food, low in nutrient-dense whole foods, are remarkably effective at producing subclinical deficiencies in exactly these compounds. Not enough to trigger textbook deficiency disease, just enough to keep the mitochondria running at 80%, 70%, 60%. You are not broken. You are under-resourced. So what does this mean in practice? It means that if you are tired all the time, adding more sleep to a broken system is like refilling a leaking bucket. It means asking different questions. Not just how many hours did you sleep, but what is your cortisol rhythm doing? What is your inflammatory load? What is your thyroid status? What is your nutrient baseline? It means understanding that tiredness is not a character flaw. It is a signal, a precise biological signal from a system that is not getting what it needs. The mitochondria are dimming because the conditions for them to run brightly do not exist, and the conditions can be rebuilt. Chronic stress management, not relaxation as a luxury, but cortisol regulation as a biological necessity, begins to restore the rhythm. The alarm starts switching off at night. Deep sleep returns. Restoration begins to happen, reducing inflammatory load. Through diet, movement, gut health, and removing chronic stressors, frees up ATP for the rest of the body. The sickness behavior retreats. Clarity returns. Targeted nutritional support. Magnesium at night, B vitamins through food, coenzyme Q10 if mitochondrial decline is severe, gives the power plants the materials they have been missing. And exercise, paradoxically, the last thing a tired person wants, is one of the most powerful mitochondrial stimulants known to biology. Physical exertion signals the body to build more mitochondria, to increase their efficiency, to upgrade the power grid, more power plants, better output, more energy available. The tired person who starts moving, gently, consistently, without pushing through exhaustion, often finds that energy does not deplete. It compounds. Here is what you now understand that most people don't. Tiredness is not always about sleep. It is about mitochondria running at reduced capacity, cortisol alarms that never switch off, oxidative sparks that are never quenched, inflammatory fires that steal energy from every other system, a thyroid set to low power, nutrient gaps in an already strained production line. Your body is not lazy. It is not weak. It is not failing. It is running a complex, intelligent, ancient energy system. And somewhere in that system, the conditions have shifted. The batteries are degrading. The alarm is stuck. The power plants are under-resourced. The tiredness is the signal. Listen to it. Ask it the right questions, because the answer has never been more sleep. The answer is a system rebuilt, restored, and finally given what it was always supposed to have.